And you played with toys?
Yeah.
Was that as
And
fun
got
as it
paid for
sounds?
it. No.
I'm Matt Cooper and this is Bite Sides.
Welcome to another edition of the Ausfine Bite Sides podcast. Certainly hoping people are finding some value out of our semi-regular podcast updates. We've got a really super interesting guest today. She is head of our Human and Resources Department. She has been with us for about 2 years. Before we go too much further, my name is Matt Cooper. I'm the CEO of Ausfine, for those who haven't tuned into a previous edition of the podcast. But getting back to our special guest today, as I mentioned, she's been with us for nearly 2 years, been a wonderful addition to the company. Her name is Kylie Prout, and she is head of Human and Resources. Kylie, welcome to Ausfine Bite Sides podcast.
Thank you and g'day.
As I said to others, I'm sure you are thrilled to be here, no doubt. You've been looking forward to this for months.
Been waiting for my time to shine.
Well, today is your time to shine.
Bring it on.
Kylie, where to start? The start is always a good place to start. Tell us a bit about yourself and the background and how you came to be at downtown Ausfine.
Sure. Well, I am someone who's always been really excited by study. Like I've got that, inner nerd. So loved school, decided to follow an interest in polymer technology and did chemical engineering at university. Yeah.
So this is super interesting, and this is what certainly an interesting point that surprised me, and I have always found incredibly interesting about you, Kylie, is that your background is not human resources or people and culture. Your background is engineering, which to me is at polar opposites of the scale. One is very scientific and very precise, and the other is more nuanced and insights to people. So let's do a bit of a deeper dive onto how you went from, what did you say, polymer engineering.
Polymer, like chemical engineering.
To sitting in the office here and telling us all about how to manage people.
It's a journey.
As all journeys are.
And all engineers have a plan, and I love a plan. We've been working together for a couple of years.
Especially if it's colour-coded.
I love a colour-coded plan. Good point. So I started my career after graduating Chem-Eng at Ford Motor Company. So I joined the graduate program there and worked in the plastics plant.
Campbellfield?
Yes, before it shut down, which was not due to me in any way, shape or form. So I looked after production for a while, so scheduling all the injection moulding machines. So that was around numbers, stock, inventory, making sure that we put the right dies in the right machines to get the stock levels up. What's really important at Ford when you're supplying to the main assembly line is that you don't stop the main assembly line. No. When you stop the main assembly line, hundreds to 1,000 people stand there and do nothing. So it was my job to schedule production and get those plans in place. Then I moved into engineering for a while and worked on a material recycling thing so we could recycle some of our plastics back into products, and then moved into quality. And that was probably my first step into what eventually turned into HR. You can't see it yet. It'll come.
Yeah, I can't see it yet, but keep going.
So I worked in in quality for a period of time and really enjoyed it. And I left Ford and worked for Mattel. So I left Ford when we were making bumper bars for a car. Uh-huh. And then I worked for Mattel. My first quality problem was making a bumper bar for Barbie's minivan. So like same, but different.
Did you say put your hand up and go, I've done this before?
I've nailed this.
So easy.
Yeah, so easy. I'll have it done, fix my lunch. So I worked as a quality engineer for Mattel. So what we did is I was responsible for testing toys and coordinating local manufacture of items. So a lot of toys are imported, but anything that was made in Australia, I worked as part of a team and we looked after that.
And you played with toys?
Yeah.
Was that as fun as it sounds?
No. So it's a bit like, I digress. My husband works at a chocolate manufacturing plant and every week he has to do sensory panel. So he gets paid to eat chocolate. And every week I go,
amazing.
Stop complaining. That sounds really good. People say the same thing about testing toys.
Yeah.
But it's only when you push Barbie's minivan down a flight of stairs, collect all the parts that fell off, see if they reassemble, see if any of them are too sharp for a child, walk back up the stairs and push it down again in a warehouse that's 35 degrees and you have to do it 30 times.
Yeah, okay.
You're like, nah.
Yeah. Isn't that fun?
I'd rather do emails.
Isn't that fun?
After that, I went back into automotive for a while to Repco Auto Parts, and then I started a career at Lockwood Security Products. Lockwood make door locks, bad locks and window winders.
Sure. Yep.
And that's where my career sort of, would I say, get off the rails? Oh, that's not fair. Took a turn. So I started there as the quality manager for Australia, and over time that role grew to different parts of compliance and different regions. So after about 5 years, I had a Asia Pacific compliance director role. So I was looking after quality, environment and safety for Australia, New Zealand and China. And the executive vice president called me to his office. Now, if I tell this as a story, I would say, imagine a factory that makes locks. It's big. It takes up a lot of geography. There's multiple buildings. I'm in a whole separate building to the vice president, and I get this call to come to his office. And you sit there and you go, oh, am I nervous? Maybe not. I back myself, but I was curious. I wonder what this is about. So I made my way. I was on the second floor, down a flight of stairs, across a hallway into a separate building. And the office was, he had his executive assistant out the front, so I had to walk past him into his office. Old building, big oversized desk. In the 80s and 90s, everything was about how big it could be or how uncomfortable you could make the other person. It had that vibe. And I sat across from him and he said, let's talk about your career. And then I was like, okay, now I'm gone from curious to a little nervous.
Now I'm nervous.
And he said, well, you've been really successful here. You started off as, quality in Australia, quality environment, Australia, New Zealand. Then we added safety. Then we added China, and you've helped us set up China. And we'd worked really hard to create a compliance team in China that could be self-sufficient and autonomous. So we wanted local people there to run the work rather than us flying over the time. So my role was to come back to just be Australia, New Zealand focused. Mm-hmm. So we said, well, you can't just do Australia, New Zealand compliance because that's what you did 2 years ago before we added China. And he just looked me in the eyes, like us sitting across from each other. He said, do HR too.
For a workforce of how many?
500. So that's it. That's my HR origin story.
Right.
3 simple words, not on my plan.
Yeah.
Do HR too. So I had a choice and I leant in and I embraced it. Would I have done that in another organisation? No. But I looked at what I'd accomplished in Lockwood and I went, hang on, I know all the people. Being in charge of quality, safety, environment, I inducted everybody. I was already a mentor on the graduate program because I'm always really passionate about growing young talent. I'd, had some tussles or some tension with the unions around quality and safety improvements.
Sure.
So sometimes when you improve something in a factory, it could result in not needing a person. Mm-hmm. So they would be defending the workforce. And so we'd have to have negotiations around how we can better utilise our human resources. See, it's sort of in there. And whilst I hadn't negotiated an enterprise bargaining agreement or, coordinated payroll or any of those things, I sort of went, I think I can do this. So I started off as the general manager of people and process development. Loved it. So engineering to HR, I probably say I got into engineering because I like solving problems and making things better. And what I love about HR is I like problem solving and making things better.
And there's the link.
That's the link for me.
Yeah, nice. And so just very quickly from Lockwood to Ausfine?
I left Lockwood after a period of time and joined Slade Pharmacy. So they're a pharmacy business who then went through some mergers and acquisitions and took on and did some chemotherapy compounding. I took a step away from HR for a while and actually led operations for the chemotherapy compounding business for a year. And then due to the fact that they were merging with 3 companies in Queensland and all of the head office and senior leadership roles were in Queensland, I made a step to what could be the next opportunity. I went out of my comfort zone again and joined the not-for-profit sector in aged care, stayed there for 5 years, and then time ticked and I rocked up here and you said, come and work
Knocked
with
on
us.
the door and said, "Are you looking for someone to handle your HR?"
Yeah,
We said,
and that can do,
"We do, actually."
chemical engineering on the side.
Bit of office renovations
Yeah.
and
Oh, true.
etc. No, it's a super interesting background, as I've mentioned. So thank you for taking that little veer off to the left there and giving a really good description of how you came to be with us. So fast forward to when was that? 2023, I guess, when you came and joined us. And just very quickly, I guess the evolution for us as we've grown up until that time, we'd largely outsourced the human resource function to a great partner, actually, and they kind of grew with us as well. But there came a time where we'd kind of got to the critical mass of people and ambitions for growth where we needed to bring that function in-house, and that is how you came to be with us. Originally, I think the thought was 2 to 3 days a week, and then we quickly realised that was ridiculous, and it was a full-time role. But just your first impressions coming through, and I guess Ausfine specific, of course, but for a lot of people who listen to the podcast or watch it, we want to try and draw kind of correlations and maybe help people who are going through something similar. Either they're part of a growth company or they have been in the past and it resonates with them, as to walking into a company that does have some pretty big growth ambitions but probably has still got legacy processes from when they were a much smaller organisation.
Sure. Well, I think for me, the first thing you need to do is respect and honour the present, honour the success of the people that have come before you and that exist in the business. So don't come in with that really heavy change agenda, because change is probably too big a step.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably just about evolution. It's about keeping what's working and, in essence, probably 9 times out of 10, just documenting what's working so that it can be replicated as we scale. So for me, it's not necessarily about reinventing it. It's about systemizing. So it's taking what's good and making sure that it's repeatable. So if you think about our lofty and fabulous growth ambitions, not that we're a McDonald's, but you want to think about that McDonald's franchise model. You want to think about, okay, we've got it. We've got these parts nailed. Then how are we going to pick that up and make sure that that works in Indonesia? How are we going to pick that up and make sure that works in Denver as well? Knowing that both times you also need to customise to the local culture and legal requirements.
Yeah. No, it is a valid point, and you have implemented that wonderfully well. I guess also just coming in and just even the nuts and bolts of the HR function around policies and procedures and getting those up to speed, and bringing us along for some of the compliance that we probably weren't across as well.
Sure, and I think that's where that love of planning that I have, and a colour-coded timing chart, love a Gantt chart. But it's about systematising that stuff too. So it's going, okay, well, every March we're going to review our policies, and then by the end of May we'll retrain them. So just building that into a cycle and creating a cycle of predictability for our staff, because that's really important too. The world is changing so much and there's so much change we can't control. So I look at what can we do to make something predictable? What can we do to reduce the cognitive load or the communication or the change burden on our team members?
Yeah, and the anxiety of the unknown, right? So you mentioned change before, and we have gone through a lot of change here, and I think I have underappreciated how much anxiety that induces in people who I'm across it. I know what's happening, but one of my probably potential failings is sometimes moving so quickly, not updating or bringing people along as I go, and so therefore they're not aware of what I know. So that just creates anxiety, very much unnecessarily.
And unintentionally.
And
so
unintentionally,
be kind to yourself,
it's certainly not meant, and I am trying to get better on that. But it's a great point you make around predictability and being sure I've done this before and I know how this works. Brings comfort to people.
Yeah. And one of my things, I guess, with people who haven't done it before, so we've got some new leaders in our organisation.
Yep.
And I will coach them one-on-one independently and then say, are you happy to take this from here? Or do you want me to walk alongside you? Like, I'm not going to do a job for you, but I will walk alongside you. I will come to that meeting with you and take whatever part you want me to play. So I can take the lead or I can just be there if you stumble.
Yep.
And I sort of coach them on, all of those things. Bring in a support person if you need it. Or I always give them advice on how to just time out.
Yep.
I go, actually, I don't really know how to answer that question. And lean into that vulnerability and that, the humbleness of knowing that you're not expected, not every leader's supposed to have all the answers.
No, definitely not. It's particularly from day one and then even going forward, there's, the world throws curly questions at you all the time. And quite often the answer is, I don't know. I can go find out. But as we sit here today, I don't know. Yeah. So just getting back to that point of the kind of walking through the door for the first few times here, as a lot of people know, we do have a great reputation, I guess, of having some long tenure employees.
Fabulous.
At Ausfine. But with that also comes challenges, particularly for someone who's new to the organisation and building out a new function like human and culture, people and culture, human resource, people and culture. So just maybe talk on that just for a little bit on the challenges of trying to implement some structure and rigidity that wasn't there previously for people who have been with the company for a long time and grown and, been great, but also but been in areas where they've kind of developed their own systems and processes, and then you get a new person coming in and trying to add structure and around those processes.
I think one of the things we did when I first started was I met with everybody one-on-one. So I said, tell me a little bit about you, your job, why you're here, what you love, what you're expecting from HR. So I really wanted to get an understanding of their expectations of me too. Just so if their expectations were wildly different to what I could deliver, I could, calm them down straight away and go, no, that's not what's happening or what I can achieve. And I think for me, what I've learned in the first time here, and, we had a couple of stumbles where I probably went a little bit fast at the start, is just taking people on a change journey and really making sure that when I start a dialogue with a person, people or a team, that we talk about what's working before we talk about the change that's going to happen. So really go, hey, this is 80% great. What I want to do now is just make sure that we have a documentation trail for in case I need it from HR purposes, or that we close the loop and we actually go back and tell the person who raised the issue that we've closed the issue. So it's that extra 10 or that 20% that we're systemizing or documenting, or as I said, closing the loop. So I try now just to focus on all those things that are existing and working well and talk about putting the icing on the cake. Because one of the joys about coming here was nothing was broken. Like it felt like a brand new job and a wealth of opportunity, but the bones were great. The people were excellent and the bones of the system were great.
Yeah,
I think
that is a credit to the people here that it wasn't broken, but I think that was through our people, less so than our processes and systems. I think people kind of through, just the quality of people that we have here had papered over a lot of those not so great aspects of our systems and processes in the human resources area. And as I said, kind of probably developed their own systems to paper over them. So, I agree. I don't think it was broken. I think that was a credit to our people and our culture as opposed to our systems.
And that's the thing, that organic part of the culture is what we need to retain.
Yeah. And
that's the challenge that we face moving forward, is how do we retain that in multiple geographies, in multiple places where you and Chris aren't there. A lot of it comes from those leaders in our organisation. Or
Steve or Gary or
exactly.
Janine. And this is what we tried to instill, is that everyone's a leader and everyone's responsible for that culture and that leadership.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree.
So we are going through as you mentioned, a fairly aggressive expansion across geographies as well. Obviously, Indonesia is an existing one, the US. We've probably, to get to that point around culture, we've obviously taken Tommy, who's a wonderful representative of the Ausfine culture, and he's spearheading a lot of that Ausfine-ness in the US. But your thoughts on taking what is great at Ausfine, but being able to move it into a new culture, like the US, and even though everyone would think that the US is very similar to Australia in culture, in many respects it's quite different. So your take on how you merge the two?
Sure. And I think the challenge is making sure everything is more than words. So we have a really strong foundation of values and norms and purpose that is aligned irrespective of what geography. But it's how we live it and breathe it that makes the difference. And so an example of how we live and breathe our culture would be Us Time. So for those, playing along at home, Us Time is an all-staff meeting that we have 4 times a week, and we only have it 4 times a week, even though I know there's 5 working days because we are blessed with meeting-free Wednesday. And it's a all-company huddle where we talk through things that are going well. We shout out, we celebrate, we congratulate each other, but we also surface issues and tactical problems that the collective could help us solve. And we do that in, this is a bit HRy, but a psychologically safe or a safe way where we talk about the issue, not the person. And if we do that, we're demonstrating our culture. So implementing Us Time in the Indonesian office and integrating that with the US office is a way that our company culture supersedes and exceeds the individual country culture. So we're making things Ausfine.
It's a great point and great observation, and yeah, it's one of our key watch-outs is obviously performance as well, and taking advantage of new opportunities in the US. But front of mind is how do we take our culture and essentially scale it.
Yes.
So when we don't have our traditional leaders around, how do we scale our culture, which in a lot of respects is our secret sauce? That's therein lies the challenge, I guess.
Absolutely.
So that kind of gets us to we've probably looked at the current state and your history. Let's look a bit into the future. So looking crystal balling, obviously we've got that very touchy-feely aspect around culture. And then you overlay everything that's happening in the world, volatility, but then technology and the dreaded or celebrated, depending on who you are, term AI. How do you see that playing out in the world of human resourcing of companies and culture? How do you then grow culture in a world where people are feeling threatened by a tech evolution?
Good question. Tough question. Good question. All right. Let me try and unpack it as best I can. When you're a leadership group or an exec team and you go off site and you do a SWOT analysis, you look at your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities and your threats. Absolutely, you can look at AI as a threat. I would prefer that we pivot that, flip it on its head and go, what's the opportunity? Look at it through that positive lens and go, how do we capitalize on that for our people? So one of the clear ways that we can capitalize on it for our people is to look at anything that is repeatable, predictable, in human terms, boring, non-value added, and look at a way to utilize AI for that. Who wouldn't want to get rid of, the boring parts of their job? We're a relationship-driven business. We are all about our people. We deliver value through our people. So whether that's a salesperson who can articulate market forces and where our yields are and what the weather patterns are and what that means for the cycle that we're in now, or whether that's our export documentation team that can clearly articulate the compliance hoops that you've got to jump through to export our products to other countries. We're about people and we're about relationships. But that doesn't mean we can't capitalise on AI. But we'd be strategic and purposeful about it. But I think for me, the biggest thing is to switch that threat into an opportunity and to look for the gold first.
Yep. I 100% agree, and it's that story around, I think they mapped out, just going off tangent here a little bit, but they mapped out who were the most efficient movers or most efficient users of energy in the animal kingdom, and the human was very lowly ranked. but then they put a human on a bicycle, and they were the most efficient of energy consumption to output, essentially. And I equate this to similar. This is a similar evolution of a person by themselves doing mundane tasks. You free them from that mundane task, get supported by AI, and they become amazing in a combination as opposed to just one person out.
Sure, we shouldn't underestimate that a lot of AI is unknown, and we are unaware of the potential, whether they be planned consequences or unintended consequences. But I was listening to a podcast recently where someone was talking about how fearful they were when computers came in, and how they referred to, they were a history teacher. I'm not going to have a job anymore. I can't teach history because everyone can get the answer from the Google.
Yeah.
Like the Google. Because we were so fearful of what it could do and who it could replace.
Yeah.
But what it can do is get us a whole lot of information at our fingertips, and we still have history teachers.
Yes, and also you realise, to your point about the future predictors, so to speak, what they didn't anticipate with the Google machine was a whole lot of disinformation that was out there and a lot of distrust that came with that. So you do need a trusted guide to help you through that information to see what is believable and what's not believable. And the same, I would dare say, the same thing will happen with AI. There will be points where it'll veer off in an unintended direction, which may make people not so trusting in that technology, and that's where you do need human hand-holding to make it more valuable.
Yep, totally agree.
Okay, time is ticking on, KP, and you're doing a wonderful job.
Thanks.
We're nearly at the end. We do have a question section. Which is
I felt like we've already had a lot of questions.
Which is very exciting. You're right. There has been a lot of questions, but they've all been from me, which is pretty uninteresting. So let's get someone else. Let's get someone else in on the caper, and that is Lindsay, who you're very close with. Mm-hmm. She's a very trusted supplier of ours. Helps us out a lot in the HR world. She helps us with recruitment, and she has come in with a question. A big thank you to you, Lindsay, for all your support and also for your question. And it's really about you personally, your personal motivation. So her question is, what drives you personally as a leader in HR, and what advice would you give to someone aspiring to a similar role?
Okay. I did know this question was coming. So I've given it some thought.
Well, I'm pretty sure you gave it to me.
But they were Lindsay's words.
Via Lindsay.
Via Lindsay. So,
she didn't make this up.
No. So if I think about motivation and what I like to role model and be, I would use an acronym that I made up. It's with the word PEAK. So PEAK. The P is about performance. So I'm all about getting the job done right. I want to smash my KPIs. I want to be the first one to get my expenses into finance. And I wasn't last month. But thanks, Trev. I want to work in a high-performance environment. I want to demonstrate how high performance can be successful and help the whole business. So I'm really excited about that. The E in the acronym is about enthusiasm. I'm really big about people being enthusiastic. So in HR, people talk about engagement. You have engagement surveys, but I want to turn that up a notch. I think enthusiasm is better. So I want people to volunteer. I want people to lean in. I want people to take an interest in their self-development. So I try to role model that because I think enthusiasm, positivity can be infectious in a really good way. The A is for accountability. I'm super strong on that. And the K is for kindness. So for me, kindness is about clear goals and expectations, having some stretch and some reach targets so people have growth potential, but that we treat people fairly and that we do all the hygiene factors like turn up to meetings on time and prepared, reply to emails, clean up after ourselves when we're in a meeting room, like be kind to each other.
Yep.
As I said, the A, the accountability is probably the biggest thing that drives me. I've worked with organisations and people where accountability has been low, and I've seen that affect the culture. Let me tell you a story about basketball. You know I love my basketball, but this is primary school basketball. So my daughter played basketball, bunch of 8 and 9-year-old girls. They had a coach, and the coach said, what do we want to achieve? You know, what are we about? We're about fun. Give me an F, you know, like all that type of stuff. We all want to have a turn. We all want to learn how to play. We want to be fair. Fast forward, we're, you know, 3 games in, we've lost everything, you know, every game. We're a bit of a shambles, let's be honest. But we get close in this game. We're about 2 points down, and our highest scoring team member starts hogging the ball. So the other team members are not having fun. She's not passing the ball. They're not having their turn. And that's what the team was about. So the coach put her on the bench. But the coach leaned in and said, hey, you are doing a really good job out there. But remember, we agreed, and every practice and every game we have said, we're going to have fun. We're going to pass the ball. We're all going to have a turn. I just want you to have a sit for a while and think about how you can best demonstrate that when you get back on the court. And I think about that often because I think, hang on, if we can hold a 9-year-old girl to account and make her responsible for her actions in front of her whole team and her parents in the stands and everyone else's parents, why can't we do that one-on-one in a workplace where we'll call the employee into a room no one else will be watching? So why is accountability so difficult? I get that it's awkward. No one likes it. You can stumble over it. It can be better, or it can feel better to be nice and to be loved, but it doesn't help our performance. So if I think about that peak performance and performance being the first letter, we've got to drive accountability.
Yep.
And we do that in a way that is kind.
No, it's a really good point. I love the acronym PEAK. It's going to take off.
Oh yeah, that's
KP.
it. I think.
Especially around the accountability. I mean, the answer is it's hard. It's hard to
is.
have those difficult conversations, and you almost need to train, like kind of sport analogy, you need to train it. You need to train that muscle of how you have those hard accountability type conversations without it being derailing or, you know, coming into a shouting match and people going into defense mode, etc. Yeah. It is a learned skill, I think. I don't think you're necessarily born with that ability to have an accountable conversation, but it is critical. It
is.
Yeah.
Now, I think I skipped the second part of the question was, what would my advice
What would your
be?
advice to give to someone aspiring to a similar role?
Do a chemical engineering degree.
It's a natural fit, right?
Fake it till you make it.
It's a natural fit.
I guess for those that are in there, you know, like my daughter in year 12, don't be so devastated about your ATAR score and what university degree you get into and where you start. You started in a logistics role, moved into sales, and now you're a CEO. Go with the flow, work hard, try different things. That would be my advice. If you love working with people, HR is a great place, but you can work with people as part of the sales team too.
I would say that last point is really critical. Try lots of things.
Yeah.
Just try it all out and see which one's the best fit for you. Kylie, it's been a wonderful chat today. This is where we part ways, at least for a little bit.
Until we walk out there.
We walk out there. Thank you very much for doing this. It was great to listen to your history, how you came to join us and some of your insights, particularly around that peak. I love that. That's fantastic. Really appreciate our chat today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And for everyone else, that concludes our latest edition of the Bite Sides podcast. Thank you for tuning in, listening or watching or wherever you may be taking this content in. Check out our website for lots of delicious Bite Sides offerings.
Sure.
Check out our socials.
And before you say goodbye, we should say, and if anyone out there is an A player, a high performer, someone who is enthusiastic, is accountable and kind, and you think you've got the skills to come and work with us, hit me up too, because we are always hiring. If you are great talent, we want you as part of our team. Love it. KP, she's even in upselling as well. Yeah. So good work. All right, that's it. Thanks, guys.